Dabo was saying they most likely will be in the box for the season. I guess why was that?
Yeah, I just think that's the best decision for me to be able to be in the best place, to be able to get the best call, get our guys in the best position to make plays, and the best ability to adjust. I had a chance to do that last season, and I thought it was with the technology that we have now, I think that it's really beneficial to be able to see everything that they're doing, especially early in the season when you're getting you have a lot of unknowns, from a team that you study for their whole off season, and haven't had a chance to see them play in person, this season, and so being game number one. So I just think that put us in the best position, and we got a great staff and got a good communication to get things adjusted on the sideline, and we got great leadership from our team and our coaches. So yeah, I plan to be in the box.
Coach, when he was in here, he said he's excited. It's game week for you. You've been here almost 9 months now. What's it like saying, hey, this product that I've been working on these past 8, 9 months, now I get to go see it. Now I get to put it on the field and see how it looks.
Yeah, well, there's a ton of excitement. I can't wait to get to Saturday night. Obviously, we got a few more practices left this week, but just the opportunity to, as we told our team yesterday, you work the whole year for these 12 days that you get that were guaranteed, in the regular season. So, and the opener is always just unbelievably exciting, and you get a chance to be at home. And my first time, in Death Valley here, I've never even watched the game in this. Never been on the opposing sideline, never coached in this stadium in a game. So that brings a lot of excitement as well. And so, and our guys have worked so hard. You want to see them go out there and just play free and play their best and enjoy what they work so hard to do, which is to play this great game. And I just think that we do have a special group of guys that have worked extremely hard. The buy-in since I've gotten here has been tremendous from both the players and the coaches, and to be able to see that on game day, because that's really what it's all about. Everything you do, in the spring and in the summer and in fall camp is all behind closed doors, and people aren't really watching. So, but now we got a chance to perform in front of our home fans, in front of the state, in front of this country. So I just think that it's, I think we're all excited, and I share in that for sure.
Tom, I know you went into camp looking for answers at safety, just given the level of inexperience there. What were the most important things that you think you learned over those 3 or so weeks?
Yeah, I think, the big thing I impress upon our guys is, it's their responsibility to prove to their coaches and to myself that they deserve to play. And that just builds trust. So I was looking for that, the execution, the consistency, the ability to come every day with the mindset to work. And, some days, you're feeling a certain way, and some days you feel a little different. So that those things have to be, put on the side. It's about your focus and how you're thinking today in that moment, and ability to handle the ups and downs of a practice, of a camp, of a game. And so I was looking for consistency from those guys, and especially the ones that haven't played as much. And I think Ricardo Jones is one that really sticks out to me. That's just since I've been here, has continued to improve each and every week. It's had a great, spring and summer, and now training camp. And Ronan Hannafin's another one that hasn't played a lot of snaps at safety, but has done a great job. Had a great camp, and it just continues to climb, in their performance. That's once again just proven to us. Obviously, Kylan Griffin's played a lot of football, as well as Khalil Barnes played a lot of football at safety. And so those guys that we knew by watching the film, I knew what those guys had been able to do, but the other guys had not as much. And so it's just a critical position for us. We got a lot of guys we're counting on to be able to give us depth. Those guys also have to be great on special teams, and that's just the tackling in space is another thing we've been working hard on, and it's going to be tested to the highest level on Saturday night with such an athletic offense and athletic skill guys in both the return game as well as in defensively, which our guys will be part of all that. So those are the kind of things we've been working on, the kind of things we've been focused on, and those safeties are a big part of all that.
Coach, speaking of tackling, last practice we were able to watch, I heard you on the mic yelling, best tackling team in the country, that's the expectation. Were you pleased with the tackling in a couple of scrimmages especially?
Yeah, I think when we go back and when you watched it, we always felt like that was something that was a positive from the scrimmage, but it's got to carry over. You only get so many of those opportunities during a training camp. Those live segments, those are in the past now. Don't do those game week, and so I feel like we're in a good place. But until you go do it, against an opponent, it will be tested. And they have the athletes to do that, and so. But it's definitely been a priority, and that is the expectation to be an elite tackling defense. I think that's just part of, we talk about takeaways, tackling and efforts, our DNA. So it's one of those three for sure, and it's critical. You got to be able to tackle in space, and that's assignments, that's knowledge of your calls, it's positioning, and it's at the end of the day getting the guy on the ground, and being able to do that consistently as well. So yeah, we just I feel good about where we are, but that's always the one thing going into game one that you're always you just until you go out there and do it, and you'll get better and better as the season unfolds. But in this one, we got to be great day one.
You mentioned the skill of this LSU offense. Just when studying the receiving corps specifically, what stands out to you when you kind of start to evaluate them?
Just speed, twitchiness. They got guys that really do a great job with the ball in their hands and the yards after catch and the ability to stretch the field. I think they're going to, that's just what they do. They do a great job. They got an elite quarterback and elite receivers and very impressive, and so they brought in some new guys. They already had a great core, got nucleus of guys coming back from last year in those areas. They've added two extremely talented receivers, and so I just feel like that it's going to be a big test for us without question in that area. And our guys have got to be disciplined, got to play with tremendous technique, tremendous effort, and we got to execute. So all those things that you got to do to be able to play well, we're going to teams like this, they'll expose you real fast if you don't.
LSU was 107th in rushing offense last season, which is kind of startling, just given their history. And obviously they have a great quarterback, they've got great receivers, but do you expect them to be more committed to the run, in spite of that?
I expect them to. I just think, when you think about just football in general, you want to run the football on offense effectively. It establishes so many things for your team. Obviously affects the throw game in a positive way. It affects your defense in a positive way. It affects the outcome of games in a positive way. And then the opposite is for us. We got to stop the run, So I expect them to want to establish that. And I think that's going to be a priority. Just listen to them talk, which we do. We listen to everything and very, very observant of all those things. But the bottom line is that I expect them to want to be able to establish the run game. And we got to do, we got to do the opposite. We got to do a tremendous job of stopping the run. That's our top priority coming into this one, and so for obvious reasons, but also just because that's football. You want to win these kind of games, you want to be able to, control the line of scrimmage, and that's where it starts and that's where it stops. So I think that's exactly what I expect them to do.
Tom, when you took this job, you obviously had an idea of what Clemson football was and what the program was all about. Now that you've had the full off season, on the heels of the regular season, has that idea changed at all?
No, I think, the thing about Coach Sweeney is, often I've heard people say, man, he is who he says he is, and now that I've been with him behind the scenes on a daily basis, it's what he portrays in the public is who he is every single day. And so that to me drives so much of the culture of this building is your head coach. And so I've been, excited to realize it is what it would appear to be from a distance, and so and the way that he's built an environment that attracts players that have a lot of those same values, from an academic perspective, from a character. I can spend a lot of time as a as a defensive coordinator, head coach of the defense. I spend a lot of time investing in the character of our young men and feel like, man, I'm right in lockstep with the head coach, because that's important to him, and he wants our players to be developed as men. Their parents, want them to come here as that is one of the objectives, to be able to know that, hey, they're going to be challenged on a consistent basis to be the man that they were created to be. And so that to me has been awesome, and then obviously the football piece is the past that we've had here at Clemson before I ever got here has been, elite championship level performance. It's a conference level, national level, and that's awesome. And that's the expectation, and I love to be at a place that, I'm coming from a place that had those same expectations on the field. And so that's, after being here now for several months, it's definitely what I hoped it would be, and a great opportunity for me and my family, and we're thrilled to be here.
You mentioned when you first got here, trying to build confidence for the Clemson team compared to when you first got to Penn State for the first year. Your first year, I guess. How have you kind of seen that confidence grow within this team?
Yeah, it's been a daily objective for me is to build the belief and the confidence of our players defensively. And obviously when the last 4 times our defense took the field previously, it wasn't positive, for that unit, and so to me, that can weigh heavy on you. And so you got to be able to fundamentally, individually and collectively build that back. And it takes time. time, and then the next step for us is to, execute during the game, play well, play at a high level on the field during a game, not just in practice. And so we've seen that in practice. You have to create those habits. You have to create those practice habits. You have to create those, what's going to be important to you defensively, what are you going to emphasize? And that's been from day one. And you get the buy-in, because when you capture the hearts and minds of your players, that's where the buy-in comes from. That's where, when you talk about how you get guys to play hard, well, you got to capture the hearts and their mind. They got to believe that what you're going to, do as a leader of your defense is going to allow them to have success individually and ultimately as a team. And what I believe is when the team does well, individuals get recognized, and that's where they say, hey, yeah, it's a team sport, and it absolutely is. But you know what? When teams play at a high level, that's when the individual. But if you flip it, and that's where the culture comes in, and you get guys that buy in, to put the team first and what we're doing as a team, and then those individual things will follow. So I just think that's a huge part of one of my jobs, was to come here and rebuild that confidence and that belief in themselves and each other, and in what we're doing schematically. And so, like I said, the next step for us to be able to keep growing that is to go out and do it on game day.
When you mentioned the length of time it takes to rebuild confidence, what about when you're starting from scratch, like a whole new defense, new language, maybe looking back at your experience a year ago at Penn State, how long does it take for everybody to really grasp that new language, from the players to the coaches and everybody?
Yeah, I think it can be sped up when you have a great culture that you're walking into. I didn't have to rebuild the culture, had to rebuild the things we've talked about. And so I just think that hopefully, we don't have the luxury of a ramp-up games. There's no preseason games. Those were our scrimmages. And right out of the gate, you're playing, one of the best teams in the country. So you better be on an accelerated calendar, in that regard. And we don't have any choice, and so, but that's, I full well understand that. And obviously, we had a good opener a year ago as well, to be able to get ready for on the road, so, but at the same time, I do think that there is a distinct difference in the two situations that you walk into. And so I just think that, we have worked so hard to build these guys from the inside out, which once again aligns with the very culture that I'm a part of. And it's interesting for me, because I sit there in the team meetings, and coach doesn't come to me and tell me what he's going to talk about or whatever, and it's just so aligned with what I believe, and it's just sometimes like the things I was going to be talking about in our meeting, 30 minutes from then, he's already talking about and saying it in a very similar way. So I think that does accelerate the growth process, because I think the buy-in is at a higher level because of that, and that's already been established. And so, but I think the coaches are a big part of that. They got to believe in what we're doing. They got to believe schematically. They got to believe structure. They got to be able to sell that to their guys in an individual basis, especially as you go through it, and going against an elite offense every day too. That can be challenging. You're trying to build the confidence of a group of guys, and you're going against some of the best offensive players in the whole country, so, which is a great thing, but also a challenging thing. So at the same time, I think that, but it makes you feel better going into a game like this, knowing, hey, who we're going against every single day. So I just think collectively we have to be elite from day one, because of who we're opening with, which can be a great thing. And but there's no doubt it can cause a little stress at night, being able to know that, hey, you gotta, the urgency's there for sure. And so I'm excited, but you know what, we gotta go prove it.
Take one or two more for Coach Allin before we go to Coach Riley.
Coach Kelly was a little bit kind of coy yesterday. He was talking about, maybe if we put our best players on the field, we'd go 5 wide. You can't do that all the time. So we'll have to be a lot of 12 personnel at times to get the running game going. Do you like that X's and O process of studying the film, trying to figure out what they're going to do, and then adjusting on game day after you kind of see?
I don't know if I would say. I enjoy the challenge. If I had to pick, I would rather have a little more information, than what you do for game one. But there's no doubt. That's part of the, what you do as a coach. Because there's going to be. It's going to be first few drives are going to have to, a lot of adjusting going on. And that is no doubt the thrill of week one opponents, especially this high of a level. So I think that, because at the end of the day, we don't really know what they're going to do, what personnel they're going to use. But that is one thing. When you do, you're going to put your personnel out there. That part we do know once they make that decision, and then you obviously, call it accordingly. So, but I do feel like that, when you look at how they're their roster has been built, they have the ability to do both, which not everybody can do that. They got an elite tight end, and they brought in another very experienced tight end, so, and guys that are already there as well, they're waiting to have their opportunity. So then you mix that in with all those elite receivers that that they have. And so, but you can't play more than 11. So they got to decide what they're going to do. And once they make that decision, and we'll see how this game plays. And obviously it's going to depend on, how we're able to handle what they put out there. We'll probably determine how much they do or don't get into 11 or 12 or 10 personnel, type pictures. So bottom line is that, that's part of the thrill of week one, and being able to, as a coach, be able to have great communication with your staff. Another reason why I think being up in the box is a big deal for me, be able to make those decisions and be able to make those very efficiently and get that information to our guys so they can be in position to make plays on game day.
Last question here, Coach. I'm assuming this will be your first game in Death Valley, and Penn State wideout is second to none, but how excited are you just about?
Oh, I am. I can't wait. So I did my practice run down the hill last night. We had a practice in the stadium, which was awesome. So I'm going to try to be, that nobody noticed me. That's a good thing. And so, but the kids, I got to run down the hill and I got to run across the field and I got to get in the golf cart and I got to get up to the press box before we're on defense, so, but that might be the biggest challenge of the night. But just the whole thrill of the environment. I can't wait. Just historic, venue, environment. Can't wait to feel it, see it, experience it. Expect it to be, deafening and super loud, and especially when we're on it's the third downs and they're on the field on offense and we're on defense, and so we're going to practice. We practice inside, working on crowd noise for our defense for those very reasons. Same thing we did a year ago at Penn State. So very similar in that regard, and called home field advantage for a reason, and it is an advantage, and we got to take full advantage of it as well. So can't wait. Appreciate you guys. Have an awesome day. Go Tigers.
Appreciate you, Coach. Thank you.